show put on by the Preservation Society of Newport County. Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to welcome my next guest in. I have Chris Fletcher with Bartlett Tree. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I want to talk with you a little bit about your care of the trees with the Preservation Society of Newport County. 1,800 trees
1,800
officially
trees.
Recognized as a national arboretum.
Exactly, yeah. And within the care of all those trees, we basically, oh, you know what, I just ruined my train of thought, sorry.
No worries. Talk with us about being here today. I mean, flowers are really sort of in the vogue, but the trees, I mean, how many different types of trees do you see amongst these 1,800?
There's a lot. I can tell you that probably the highest number of trees are probably beech trees. There are probably about 90 beech trees that are about 100 to 150 years old. And since Newport is sort of the capital of European beech trees, it's a great place to work and to experience some of those older trees.
And so as trees get older, I mean, it's fascinating for a layperson to think how the care and the upkeep and just trying to keep them going. And then at some point, you know, unfortunately, things do happen.
Right.
You know, how do you triage? How do you keep a tree healthy for hundreds of years?
Well, they actually do a pretty good job of doing that themselves. And as they do age, as long as we've pruned them properly, as long as we've made sure that the soils have enough nutrients and they've been watered properly, as they get older, they tend to be able to withstand a lot of the stresses. And the primary stresses these days are really environmental. It's the droughts we've been having, the fluctuations in temperature. Sometimes we'll have droughts in fall and spring when trees really need to be either starting up their systems or closing them down. And at those points in time, if people don't know to irrigate, then it becomes a real problem.
And that must be a big undertaking if you're experiencing a drought with these, again, 1,800 trees.
It really is, because how do you water all those trees?
How many folks does Bartlett Tree have working at any given time around the Preservation Society?
We probably have about maybe 15 to 20 people. We have all of the trees mapped on a GPS system.
Is that online? Could we find it?
That is online. You'd have to check in with the Newport Preservation Society, but they are all mapped. They're all tagged, and we actually have their health and everything cataloged on the website that they have. Yeah.
So when you're here at the flower show and folks are talking all things flora and fauna, what do folks want to know about the trees?
People like to know the history of the trees. People don't really know how they got here, and they don't know really that the American forests, basically in urban centers like Newport, were all cut down by the settlers. By the time Europeans arrived here, a large part of Europe was already denuded of their trees. They probably had about 15 or 20% of their forests left. So when they came here, they did the same thing. They stripped the forest. In the 19th century, the whole idea of arboretums swept the country, and the United States had more arboretums than any other country in the world. The word arboretum was actually a common household word. And so arboretums were basically built to bring in trees from around the world and to educate the masses about worldwide exploration, natural science, history. And so that's exactly what these properties do. And so people like to know what the story of these trees are and how they got here. And in the 19th century, there was a huge back to nature movement where trees were brought into urban centers to kind of repopulate and to make our urban centers feel more comfortable. Europeans in the 19th century very much complained about the discomfort in our urban centers because there were no trees.
Well, there's gorgeous trees around here in addition to the flowers at the flower show.
Sure
but again, because the Preservation Society of Newport County is a national arboretum, wanted the expert with Bartlett Tree to come on. Chris Fletcher, I appreciate you taking the time to swing by.
You're welcome.
I'll let you go back to the task at hand. I'll let you go off here.
Okay.
And we'll be right back here at GoLocal Live.
Okay. Thank you.